And I think our last two, I just sent them over. So welcome, folks, to session 4 of the Washington County Business Challenge. It's hard to believe that time is flying so fast, but this is one of my favorite sessions, is talking about marketing. But before I turn it over to Kathy, just want to remind everybody, when you're not talking, please mute your devices. And if you have a question, let it out. So, Kathy, you're up.
I'm going to say hello to everybody and thank you all for hanging with us. And I thank the speakers tonight. Tanya Triplett is on a regular working relationship with all of these folks. So I'm going to let her do the introductions.
Oh my, what an honor. I'm so excited. So our first speaker is Elizabeth Gardner. I'm very excited to have you hear all of the wonderful things that Elizabeth's going to share with you today. Elizabeth came to us several years ago from California, and we were fortunate that she landed in our area. Elizabeth can work her magic on partnering with people and making projects work, and I am very thankful that she was here during the pandemic, and she was able to work with several small businesses to make sure that they stayed viable during COVID by doing shipping. So she not only shipped her product from Abingdon Vineyards at the time, she included some other small businesses and helped them. She is the queen of social media, and she can put on events like you've never seen. So very excited to have Elizabeth here today. Also had Chad Thompson. Chad is my co-worker and partner in crime. So excited for Chad to be here and share all of his knowledge, because Chad and I have lots in common, but then we have very different personalities, and all the things that Chad's great at, I stink at. So I'm excited that Chad's on my team and can lift us up in all of the areas that he is an expert in. Christine Webb has been around for a lot of years. I've been in Abingdon for 14, and I've worked with Christine in several different capacities. But she now owns her own marketing firm here in Abingdon called CWebb Consulting. So Christine will be sharing some of her knowledge as well. So I will turn this over so we can get started to Elizabeth. Thank you guys again for agreeing to do this.
Elizabeth, can you all hear her? You're muted somewhere.
Sandy, will you check your end and see if you have her muted on your side? Her microphone's not showing up on the screen as a mute. Now it is.
I think what she might...
I can text her. What do you need?
She may need to go off of her video, and I'm going to go off my video to save bandwidth, and I think that might be her problem.
So she needs to go off and then come back on?
Just turn her video off, but I don't see her on my screen.
She's on, but we can't hear her. Christine Webb, Christine, do you have a comment?
I was just going to let you know that I couldn't hear her either.
Okay. So we still can't hear you, Elizabeth. So maybe you want to use the telephone number to call in.
On my end, it shows that she's not muted on my side.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think I think it's her internet, because when she went to get up to get something to drink, she was very robotic.
Do what, Chad?
It might be that Zoom's not connecting to the microphone properly. She might could try logging off and then back into Zoom and seeing if that'll fix. If not, then the telephone might be an option.
Elizabeth,
So
can you hear us?
while Elizabeth logs off and logs back on, because I agree, she's going to have to see if she can get more bandwidth. Maybe Chad can go ahead and get us started. I know that's not the order that we wanted to go in. But
Yeah, that's fine. I can go ahead and start. Let's see.
Okay, I refreshed. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
okay, we can hear you now.
Okay, that's good. Let's try the screen again. Great. Okay, we're in business. Okay, my name again is Elizabeth Gardner, and my current business is Full Bloom Farmhouse. It's a 12-acre farm on Osceola Road. It's a historic dairy property, and it has a 1900 farmhouse and a beautiful barn. So we do classes and events and a big garden. We sell at the farmer's market. We do a lot of canning and bath products. And we just brand new added a cow club. So we're, this has been my kind of a lifelong dream to have a farm and kind of this lifestyle business, and still finding, my niche and what works with this particular property and this particular community. So that's one thing about having your own business. You're always kind of navigating, what's working, what's not. And it's a constant process of learning. And although I'm the speaker tonight, I do not consider myself an expert in marketing. I feel like there's so much that I still have to learn. And, but I can certainly share my top tips so far, and also a little bit about where I'm wanting to go and what I'm wanting to learn. And I'm sure I can learn things from all of you as well. So I'm really excited you guys are taking, this opportunity to kind of hone your skills and learn more about entrepreneurship. I maybe you didn't hear me in the intro since I was muted, but I took this small business challenge program several years ago, and I just think it's such an amazing resource for our community. So I commend you for taking the program, and I wish you the absolute best in your endeavors. And at the very end, I'll share my contact information, because I'm happy to give everyone in the program an hour phone consultation to help with any marketing questions you have. And then I'm available for hire as a consultant if you need help with certain areas for your business, website, social media. Happy to help with any of that.
Sorry, I just had to change something.
No problem. When you're ready, we can go on to the next slide. So the next slide has, it's not up yet, but there we go. So Full Bloom Farmhouse is my fourth business. Here are the last three. The first one I started right out of college was called Lizzie's Cookies, which was, I've always loved baking and just kind of had this entrepreneur streak. So I did that for 3 years, and that was pre-social media. So no Instagram profile to show from that one. But my second business is the one on the left here, the Food and Farm Tours. That was in California. And I led tours to about 30 different small local farms, and took people wine tasting and cheese tasting and oyster tasting. And it was just a wonderful way to teach people about farm to table and local agriculture and the importance of supporting farmers. So as you can see on that one, I grew that up to 22,000 followers. And there's I was kind of lucky in the way that I lived only an hour outside of San Francisco. So that was kind of like the tech haven there. So I had a lot of tech clients that would come on the tours, and I would do like offsites and parties and farm to table dinners for a lot of the tech companies there. And I sold that business after I moved here to Virginia and started helping with Abingdon Vineyards. And I started the Instagram account there and grew it to 11,000 followers. And I'm no longer working with them, but I still am. I'm very proud of the work that we did with that company, just because it was really fun to engage with the local community and make new partnerships. And there were so many opportunities to work with other businesses and bands and organizations and nonprofits. And I really do love working with community members and raising money for nonprofits and helping other businesses. So that was a great introduction to the community, and really grateful for my time there. And so I've been doing Full Bloom Farmhouse now for, well, coming up really only a year full bore. So that one you can still is still growing. I was hoping to hit 2,000 before I got on here, but 5 more to go. So this is kind of my portfolio, so to speak. And like I said, I'm still learning and evolving. I really love Instagram. And so that's kind of one of my primary marketing tools. It's not quite as popular here as it was in California, but so I think it's certainly a place to focus energy. And I have kind of an art and design background, and it's a great place to share photos. And it has like a really nice, simple platform. You don't get all the craziness of Facebook. And it's really easy to connect with other like creators and business owners. So I've had a really good experience with Instagram. It has its challenges, of course, with the algorithms and such, but I'm a fan. So let's go on to the next slide, please. Okay. So when I think about a business and thinking about a concept, really one of the first places I start. And like I said, my style is kind of evolving through the years, but some things to keep in mind: clean lines, and you want it to be eye-catching. And you kind of have to think about different versions. I've kind of now like steered towards circle logos a lot because they look really good with Instagram and Facebook, and they look good on t-shirts, and they look good on mugs. Here's my new Cow Club one. So I've kind of steered towards circular shaped logos recently, but it's okay to have several different options, and because some will look better, in different applications. So my number one tip would be to use a graphic designer. Even though I have an art and design background, I always use a graphic designer to help. And what I typically do is because I always have an idea of what I want in my head. And so I'll draw it out, give that to a graphic designer, and then let them kind of work their digital magic. And it's always a back and forth process to kind of get it how I really want it. But I've always had really great experiences with graphic designers, and it just adds a level of professionalism that I know that I couldn't get myself. So that's kind of a number one. And they know all the right files and formats and sizes. And I try to do as much as I can because I'm, bootstrapping it a lot. But the logo is kind of like the look and the image and the basis of your business. So if there was something to invest in, I would say that's where you want to start. And kind of imagine, first of all, you have to really like it yourself. You have to want to wear it on your sweatshirt. Here I'm wearing my tractor shirt. So, do something that you like, but you also feel like other people might like as well. So what I said, imagine on a sweatshirt, a hat, design a logo people want to wear. And if you look at the bottom row, you can kind of see different iterations. So like I said, I'm trying to kind of find my niche here at Full Bloom. And so it started with this idea of this magnolia, because I felt that represented Southern hospitality and this kind of like coming into myself and like my life in full bloom. But that's obviously like, limiting as far as, it's very feminine, obviously. And then when we started doing the farm stands, we have this tractor outside of the barn. And so I kind of wanted to do a logo that maybe would have like a broader attraction. And certainly with farm folks, people love the red tractors. So, and then with the latest thing, we got a miniature Highland cow and started this cow club. So we did like a hand drawing of a Highland cow. But you can see, like, you can tell, even though they're all very different images, you can see that they're all within the same brand, that you're using the same font and the same like circle style. And so, there is room within a logo to do several versions and to keep it evolving and having, different options for your customers and for your merch. Okay, let's go to the next one. Okay, Instagram. So I already said I'm kind of a fan of it. I love photography, and I like this platform because it's really focused on images, and there's just a lot less noise. Okay, so Instagram. So I would say that when you are doing Instagram posts, you're going to want to focus on content. So what it is you're sharing or trying to say. And then you really want good photo and video quality, because the way it's set up, you have kind of this, and mine are not professional photographs. I take everything with my iPhone, but still I'm always conscious of, how things might look in that little square because you have this portfolio that, people, that when you open up your account, all your lead photos are right there side by side. So you want to be conscious of how that looks. And so I use, like I said, I do pretty much everything on my iPhone. And my number one photo tips would be to do portrait mode, because it has this kind of great way of focusing on your subject and kind of blurring the background a little bit. And the number two tip would be natural light. So if you can, photograph outside, if not, right by a window, and just trying to get as much natural light as possible. Like when I'm photographing products and things like that, I'll usually take them outside, try to get like a nice background or against the barnwood. But I pretty much try to photograph everything outside, and you get a lot better light in your photographs. Let's see, aim for 1 post per day. So that's kind of my just general goal. I try to post once a day. Sometimes it's 3 times a day, sometimes it's 0. But it kind of, when you're an entrepreneur, this kind of becomes your lifestyle. Your business kind of becomes your life. And so you have to kind of work with the ebb and flows of life. And sometimes there's just a lot of content all at once and you want to share it. And sometimes you're exhausted and you can't even, deal with doing a post, and that's okay. So you have to like have goals, but also like cut yourself some slack. So a loose goal for 1 post per day. And then I try to do several stories per day. So stories are like temporary little shares that disappear after 24 hours. And those are typically used for like more casual things, like just like daily things. Like today, my stories were like, oh, here I am, like petting my horse and Here I am like redoing this garden bed, and so things that maybe don't warrant like a full post and position on the portfolio screen, but still kind of shows people like what you're up to, and kind of what your daily life is like. And people like to see those little things. The thing that I'm not good at, which I still, most creators do, but I just have not done it yet, is like video myself. So I'm like, I typically like to kind of hide behind the camera. So I have yet to kind of do videos where you see me like making recipes or building things. So I haven't quite, and I'm a bit of an introvert. And so I still have not kind of gotten in front of the camera very much. And that kind of suits me. Maybe it's not the best marketing strategy, but maybe eventually I'll get up the courage to get in front of the camera a little more. Okay, reels. Let's go back to highlights. Okay, so stories, like I said, they disappear after 24 hours, but there's a way to save them and categorize them in these little circles up in the top. Those are called highlights. And those are kind of like categories of stories where you can save your stories in these different categories, and people can kind of flip through the stories. And so it's a way to like save them for longer than 24 hours. And so the way you can kind of think of that is they're just like different categories of things that you might find on a website. So we have the cow, like if you look at the little circles, we've got the cow club, pictures of the house, pictures of my flower art, pictures of the farm decorated for the holidays, things like that. And it goes on, you can slide it over and there's several different highlights. So that's a quick way for people to kind of see like main points of interest, main parts of your business. So those are pretty easy to create. You just, they're up at the top, and you can add to it basically you have to make a story first, and then it'll be in your like list of stories. And then you can, if you want to create a new one, you just click on all the stories you want to add to that particular highlight. And then you just add a picture, add a name, and then you've created a new highlight. So those are a great little tool. Okay, reels. So I only made my first reel maybe about 6 months ago. I was like terrified. There was just something new. When you're a small business, there's like always new stuff to learn. And sometimes, it can be a little overwhelming, especially, all this new technology. And so I was really nervous about it, and I didn't think I'd be any good at it. But now that I kind of got the hang out of it, I love reels. I pretty much almost always do reels because it's really fun. And so basically, it's a lot easier than you think. You just take little short videos, and then you just click on the reel button, and then you can kind of select which ones and edit them, make them shorter, rearrange the order. And then you can either do an audio, so like talk over it and explain what's happening in all these clips, or you can just add music over the top. And they're really fun. It's like just it's a fun little creative outlet for me, and I really enjoy doing them. And they rank a lot higher in the algorithms because Instagram is trying to compete with TikTok. And so if you create reels, it gets a lot more views than still pictures. But that's because Instagram is trying to push that content. So it's worth trying. If you have a personal Instagram page, then maybe just try a few reels to get the hang of it. You can always, and you can always delete things too. So, and you can save drafts, make a reel and just save it as a draft and watch it the next day and see if it's worth posting. So, you have to play around with things to kind of, get the hang of it at first. Okay. So hashtags. Hashtags are important because it helps Instagram like direct your posts. And so and you want to use maybe between, around 10, let's say, hashtags. That's a ballpark. Obviously you can use more or less, but that's like a good ballpark. So if you look on the right side of this slide, this is how I do my hashtags. So you have your your comment, like your caption, and then you do like return dot, and give some space, and then you do your hashtag. So it's still in that first caption, but you're not like visually interfering with like what you actually have to say, because nobody really wants to look at hashtags that much. So, but it is important that they be there when you first post. So this is kind of the recommendation that I've gotten. And, you know, like I said, the algorithm is always changing. So this might not be the best way to do it, but this is how I was taught and how I continue to do it. And I'm always kind of looking at what other, you know, what hashtags other people are using. The way it drives me crazy to have to list them for everyone. So I just won't do it. I'll just save them in my notes. So like on your iPhone, there's a little note section. So I do the .return, and then the hashtags that I typically use. And then every post, I'll just hop over there, copy, and then paste it into the bottom of my Instagram post, which saves me a lot of time. And then, you know, if a particular hashtag doesn't fit for that post, I'll delete it and put something else. But that saves me a lot of time, because I don't want to be bothering with hashtags. They're a little bit annoying to me, but they are necessary. And I think my Visit Abingdon got cut off, but there's a few that I use that are like local indicators. So the hashtag, Visit Abingdon VA, you can see it on there. Hashtag SWVA, which is our region, and then Love VA, which is our state. So we've got city, region, state, and that helps, you know, if people are looking for things to do in this area, or, you know, adding some sort of a location is important and will help Instagram get your posts to the people that need to see it. Okay. Best way to get followers is to follow other people. So this strategy is, it's kind of when you follow somebody, they get a notification like, oh, like Full Bloom Farmhouse wants to follow me. Like, what are they all about? And then, you know, they click the follow back button. If they're remotely interested. So one strategy would be, you know, when you're thinking about marketing, you want to spend a lot of time thinking about, well, who is your ideal customer? Like, who's going to be interested in your business, and who's going to be interested in like the offerings that you have. And so, and some marketers go to the extent of creating an kind of an avatar, like their ideal client, and they give it a name and an age. And so I would say like my ideal clientele is like, well, mostly women between, I would say like 30 and 70, which is kind of a broad age, but my business attracts like a lot of young moms and a lot of retired ladies. And so that's kind of important for me to, and people that would be interested in gardening and food and farmers markets, local farms, things like that. So I try to think about, okay, this is my ideal clients, and what are other businesses that they're going to be interested in. So maybe they're going to be following the Abingdon Farmers Market. And so you can go to the Abingdon Farmers Market Instagram page, and then you can see everyone that's following it. So you just click on followers, and they give you a list, and then you can click follow. You know, those people are interested in the farmers market, so they might be interested in, you know, what you're offering. Now you can only do this, like Instagram's like obviously wise to this. So you can only do it maybe 20 accounts at a time. You click follow maybe like 20 times. And then it'll say, try again later. You're clicking too much, try again later. But that is one strategy. If you do that, once or twice a day, then you can slowly, get more followers. And ideally people that are actually interested in what it is you're selling or the service that you're offering. So, another thing you can do is really helpful is to partner with other businesses, and then they can, if you do either a giveaway together or a joint event together, then they're going to share a post with your Instagram handle. And that's a way that people can find out about you and then click on your handle and start following you that way. So that's another great way to do it. And with the giveaways, usually a requirement in the giveaways, you have to follow all of these accounts and, do this, that, and the other. So that's another way to gain followers. So now that Instagram and Facebook are owned by the same company, when you make a post on Instagram, you can have it automatically feed to your business Facebook page, which is handy because then you're not having to redo the same posts. For some reason, I am not able to get my reels to share over to Facebook. I'm not sure why that is, so I need to do some research. So I'm a bit frustrated at the moment because every time I make a reel on Instagram, I have to download it to my phone and then upload it again in Facebook, and then I have to add the music again, and it's kind of annoying. So I'm sure there's something I'm missing there. So like I said, always learning, and there's always new tips and tricks to figure out along the way. Okay, let's keep on trucking, Sandy. Okay. Facebook. So Facebook is more popular than Instagram around here. So this is, I think, pretty important area to focus on. So definitely you're going to want to create a business page. So in order to create a business page, you have to start with a personal account, and then you create a business page from there. One of my favorite things about Facebook is the Facebook events. So this has been really important for me because I do a lot of classes. So here are some examples of the classes coming up. And so you can create an event for each activity that you have. And it's really easy for people to share or tag their friends. And it has a link that goes right to my website so they can sign up and pay. So that's one of my favorite features of Facebook. And like I said, you set it up to feed it from Instagram. So most of my posts come from Instagram, but it's also good for sharing articles and recommendations. This is one thing that Instagram, it's a little harder to share things, which is good and bad. But Facebook is really good for that. One thing I use Facebook a lot for is targeted ads. You can do this on Instagram as well, but I tend to focus more on Facebook. So let's say you have a post that you like and you want to get out there more. They have there's a button there, it says boost post, and then you can choose who you want to see it. Again, this is where your targeted marketing comes in. So whenever I have for example, I had this cow club and I was wanting to get a few more signups. So I boosted it, and you select first your location. So I said, anyone within 25 miles of my address, you can enter in your address. I said, all right, I want people within 25 miles. And I want women between the age of 30 and 60. And I want them to be interested. I think I picked you can pick a few interests, but I picked homeschool moms because I thought, well, moms might want to bring their kids to a farm to hang out with a cow. And this would be a great opportunity for a field trip for homeschool moms. And then I think, I can, like I said before, like people interested in farmers markets or gardening, organic gardening, things like that. So you can be really specific about who you want your ads to go to, which I think is brilliant. And then you can change what price, I want to spend like $20 on this, and I want it to run for, 3 days. So there's a very specific things that you can do. So I think that's a pretty powerful tool. And I've had a lot of success with that because you're getting it in front of the right people. Okay, then we have share your business posts on your personal Facebook page. Yeah, so, I have a lot of friends on Facebook that don't follow my business page. And so, I do try to occasionally like post things from my business and on my personal page as well, because it kind of gets in front of different people and people who know who I am. They might not be following my business page, but at least they still know what's going on with my business and can still sign up for things that interest them. And then there's also a way to invite your friends to like your page. So I probably haven't done that as much as I should, but you can invite people to like your business page. And that's especially important when you're first starting and you have 0 followers. So the first place to start with is your existing Facebook friends. So that's a good way to get your first few followers. Okay, let's move on. Okay, website. So you can kind of get away with just social media for a little while, depending on your business, but a website should be pretty close behind that. So like I said, I like to do as much of that I can do by myself to save money. So I built the Full Bloom Farmhouse website with Wix, which I think is a great interface. Professionals don't like it so much because it's somewhat limited, but I'm not a website professional. So for beginners that want to kind of manage it themselves is a great option. And there's a little bit of a learning curve, but still, I've been really happy with it. And it has a lot of integrated features that I've muddled through and figured out how people can, buy tickets. And I do my email blast through Wix. So, and I know there's a lot of features that I'm not even using. So I feel like I'm just kind of scratching the surface of their options. So if, just a one-page website is better than nothing. So start there. Just start with a landing page. And just so you have a web presence, I think is really important. And you need to buy a domain. So there's a couple different ways to do it, but I typically go through Google. You can just Google domains, and then it'll pop up and it'll tell you if your domain is available. And then you can also have the option of getting an email with it. So that's run through Gmail, which is nice. So I have Elizabeth at fullbloomfarmhouse.com, but it's a Gmail account. So that's pretty handy. I do like Gmail. So that's how I typically buy my domains. And even if you're not ready to make your website straight away, you might want to just buy your domain just so it's there in case. And I didn't even really talk about, names, but names of businesses are important. And maybe you guys are kind of already past that stage. But it's important to really think about your name and your domain name, and also just make sure that nobody else really has that same business name anywhere near you. But you guys are probably beyond that. As I said, keep it simple. Start with one page and then slowly add. For a website, I think great photos are a must. You can get pretty far with portrait mode, but professional photographs are gold, in my opinion. So I tend to do a lot of trading with professional photographers, which helps us both. So I do host a lot of photographers on my property, and I tend to trade for photos of my property so that I can use them on my website. So that's been like a really great partnership that I've had with a lot of photographers in the area. So this is not the top of my website. The top of my website has a big picture of the house, kind of like the Facebook page. But then, so right below that, you kind of want to direct people to your main pages. So I have the house, the barn, classes and events, and about. But if you look up a little bit higher, you can see there are more pages than that. There's also one for the farm. There's one about photography, because I do host a lot of photographers, the Cow Club contact page. But you want to keep it fairly simple for the main picture, so people don't get overwhelmed. I mean, you want it to be really, I think simple is better, because you want to know people can navigate it quickly and easily, and just have colorful, eye-catching photos is really important. And then down below, it's kind of cut off, but you can see you can integrate your Instagram into your website. So on my main homepage, if you scroll to the bottom, you can see like the last, 16 Instagram photos that I uploaded. And so that's a good way to keep your homepage current with photos, and then it allows people to click right there and follow you on Instagram. And even below that, then I have, which you'll see in a minute, a spot where people can join the mailing list and also follow on Facebook. So make sure, to add those contacts so people know what to do. You got them on your website, so what do you want them to do? So for me, I want them to join the mailing list, follow me on Instagram, follow me on Facebook, sign up for a class, so those are kind of, or, rent the barn or something like that. So you really have to make sure it's easy for people to navigate and get where they need to go. Okay, next slide, please, Cindy. Okay, email blast. Here we go. So I think an email list is really important. And so you want to be gathering emails whenever you can. So at the bottom of my website on every page, so it's in the footer, then there's a little section, join our mailing list for updates, and you just enter in your email address, click submit, and you're on the list. And so then that gets stored in Wix. So whenever I want to send an email, I go log into Wix and do the email marketing, and you can add photos and make a little email blast to your list. So an example one that I sent last week was on the right, about the Cow Club, and just a quick little intro. We've got this opportunity. Here's some cute pictures. Here's other upcoming events. And so this is a way just to keep people on your email list in the loop. Here's what's happening. I try to send these out once a week. So this week I added a bunch of new classes. So I'll do an email blast. Hey, we've added, 5 new classes. Here they are, a little description and picture of each one, and a link to sign up. Okay, let's go to the next one. Okay, digital flyers. So sometimes it's nice to compile, if you have a lot of events coming up, then it's nice to compile them into a graphic image. So the one on the right was from Abingdon Vineyards. We were doing a lot of music at the time. And so we would do a monthly, so this was January music calendar. And we would then submit that to the Wolf Whistle, which is the Abingdon email blast, and Chamber of Commerce, which does it every other week, an email blast. So, and then we would print them out and, have them up in the window at the winery. And so those are handy, like a visual, so people can see in a glance all the upcoming events. And then also this was a full bloom from September, all the classes that I had. So again, just kind of people can see at a glance, get a feel for what you have and the upcoming events. These are really also great to share in Facebook groups. So there's a couple of great local groups. There's like an Abingdon Connect group, and you can kind of search around for local groups. But I found that they're a great way, to market and connect with other people that are local and on, looking on social media for things to do. And then I also I belong to cow groups, plant groups, we all got our, little niches and hobbies. So, but, I get visitors that way because people are interested in the same things I am, so you get on Facebook and find your like people. Okay. Next slide, please. Okay. Print materials. So there is still a place for print materials. Although a lot of, marketing is digital these days, but I think wrap cards are really great. The Abingdon Visitor Center does a great job sending people to local businesses. So, if you can get a wrap card and get it there, that will definitely help. There's also visitor centers, right when you cross over the border into Virginia, and they have a lot of, wrap cards there too. And I haven't done one for a full bloom farmhouse because I'm still I'm not really open to the public every day. So I'm still kind of trying to figure out, my what exactly I would want to say and offer on a rack card. So I'm getting there. But here are two examples. So rack cards are those long, skinny ones. This one was from my tour company in California and one from the vineyard. So you can see I have definitely a style. So obviously great photographs are a must for those. And when they're in the racks, people really only see the top couple inches. So make sure the top couple inches look good and can maybe catch people's eye and let people know what you are. And then obviously the back has all the nitty-gritty details. But I think pictures do a great job of setting the tone and kind of enticing people and giving them an idea of what you're about. So with Full Bloom, I've kind of done more postcards, which are nice because I can take them to the farmer's market and hand them out at my booth, or I leave them at coffee shops, or they're a little easier to hand out, a little more casual. So this was for farm stands that I was doing. So I had the October, November, and December dates on there. So it was kind of, it was temporary. I only used it for 3 months, but still I thought it helped kind of get the word out a little bit and can be helpful. I'm working on helping the Abingdon Garden Club plan a garden tour in May. And so we're pretty much using exclusively postcards and going to be dropping them all around town. A few flyer size posters, but we've decided to go pretty much exclusively with postcards for our print materials to promote that event. And business cards. Business cards are still really handy when you meet people. It's kind of just serves as a little reminder of who you are and helps them remember to call you later. Okay, next slide. Merch, my fave. I love designing merch. I just think it's fun. And it's just a great way to get your logo out there. And so stickers are kind of always my number one go-to because they're cheap and easy to give away. I give away a lot more stickers than business cards. but people love them. They put them, on their car, on their computers, wherever. A lot of people collect stickers. So I definitely recommend that. Mugs and tumblers. Those people, they're really handy, and people like to buy those. And you can do stainless steel ones, or like this is a mug that I made for the Cow Club. And shirts, bags, tote bags, sweatshirts. Those are all really fun. I use a local company in Damascus, Trailhead Designs, and they always do a fantastic job. And I like supporting local. For stickers in a pinch, there's, Sticker U, and there's a bunch of Sticker Mule, a bunch of online places. Matchbooks is one of my personal favorites. And I think I use It's Your Party online, and you can just upload your logo and they'll send you boxes of matchbooks. And I just think those are kind of a fun retro gift that I like to throw into gift baskets or give to friends and things like that. I don't have any pictures of the koozies, but I did make some tractor koozies just for fun. Okay, next slide. Okay, press. Nothing like free marketing. So I was lucky enough to be approached by a couple writers that wanted to do articles about the farm. And that was great in getting us some exposure and just more people knowing about us. So that was nice. But there's other ways that you can kind of be proactive. If there's a lot of blogs out there, and if you can find bloggers that are interested in what you're doing, sometimes you can send them free things or give them, like I used to, when I had my tour company, I would reach out to travel bloggers all the time. Hey, would you like a free tour? And maybe you can write about it. And people were like, yeah, sure. And so I got a lot of exposure that way. So that was key for building my business. In fact, press was the #1 business builder back in California for my tour company. I don't know, before I knew it, like the New York Times did a story on it, and a bunch of travel, Condé Nast did a story on it. So that was huge in building my business. And so definitely like reach out to, any appropriate media or bloggers. And with the winery, we would say, reach out to wine bloggers. Hey, can we send you some free wine? And if you like it, maybe you write about it. And so that was helpful in getting our name out to the wine community that way. Okay. And then, yeah, it never hurts to kind of reach out to, any magazines that you think might be a good fit. Tanya is really great at bringing travel writers to this area. If Tanya asks, hey, can I bring a travel writer to your business? Say yes. She was really great in helping us expand the winery. We got a lot of blog posts and articles written about, it was about Abingdon in general, but, it mentioned the winery, and so people, I want to go to Abingdon and we should hit the winery. And so the travel writers is really a great way to get your word out there. And then, there's a local news channel that does, they do a lot of bits on local businesses. Okay, next, please, Sunday. Okay, so a rising tide lifts all boats, which is to say, like, community over competition. And, I think we have a really great community that is supportive and willing to help each other. And like I said, I'm available for a free hour phone consultation if you just want some feedback or some tips or some strategy. If you're overwhelmed, like starting your own business is completely overwhelming because you're wearing 50 hats and you're juggling, 100 things. And, it's hard to prioritize things or, and you're, like I said, always trying to learn new things. So it can be a lot. And so anyway, I'm happy to help if you want a phone call. And I'm also, after that, available for consulting, help with branding. If you want me to sit down with you and teach you how to make reels, I'm happy to do it. My email is elizabeth@fullbloomfarmhouse.com. So you can email me and just say, hey, I'd love to set up a call with you. Or, you can just email me questions, whatever. Would be happy to help. Also, I do want to give a plug. If you guys are looking for a graphic designer, of course, Christine Webb, who you'll hear about, is fabulous, but she's pretty busy these days. But I wanted to give a shout out to Carly Edwards Design, who has helped me with a lot of my local logos, and she's fantastic. So Carly Edwards Design. So I would look her up. And maybe I'll put her email in the chat. I asked her if I could. She said, yes, please. So she's local and has really reasonable rates, and she's a graphic genius. So I can't recommend her enough if you need help coming up with a logo or updating your website, creating a website. She's been a great resource for me. And I'm happy to take any questions if you have them, or we can roll on to Chad.
Thanks. Scott has his hand raised. Go ahead, Scott.
Thank you. Hi, Elizabeth. So quick question. Can you talk to us a little bit about the dollars and cents? Like you mentioned, you're trying to grow this to like 2,000 followers. Can you kind of give us a rough estimate on what your monthly marketing spend is and where you're focused on that? Is it ads? Is it merchandise? Print media? I'm really interested in that kind of the side of it.
Yeah, good question. I probably spend the most dollars probably with Facebook ads when I'm specifically trying to push a particular event or offering. But I'm pretty, I try not to spend like I will spend on coming up with a logo, and sometimes I'll hire out a little bit, just if there's a few little things in the website that I'm just not figuring out, then I'll pay someone to help me for a few hours. But as far as, so Instagram, again, it's like mostly the strategy is you have to put in the time to follow people and connect to people. And then hope that they follow you back. And also, like I said, kind of building partnerships so that you can get in front of other people's followers and then they might follow you back. Let's see, I'm trying to think as far as other dollars and cents. The thing that, like I said, right off the bat, I do buy merch. But the intent is to resell most of it. So I was doing the farm stands. I sell at the farmers markets. So that's a bit of a trick because, obviously you have to pay for it all up front and then it takes a while to sell it all. But it's just something that I love. And so, for me, it's worth the investment. And I'm one of my goals for this, winter is to do an online shop on my website. So I'm kind of learning the ins and outs of that so I can start selling, merchandise and products on the website.
Awesome. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Elizabeth mentioned rack cards. Those are normally about 4 by 9. And we have space in our facility on Main Street in Abingdon for rack cards for anyone who has a business in the county. You do have to pay a fee to be in the Virginia Welcome Center. But I wanted to remind you all that we've taken over the Welcome Center in Bristol for the month of April and September. So we're going to be decorating. If you have items that you want to contribute to that, there'll also be opportunities for us to go down during the day and talk to visitors while they're in and out. They're open from 8 to 5 daily. So if anybody's interested in participating in demonstrations or coupons or anything for the month of April and September, and we chose because of the race and the Billy Idol concerts now just a icing on the cake. And then we got September for Rhythm and Roots and the Bristol race. So we felt like there would be a lot of traffic at that Welcome Center during those 2 months. So just let us know if you're interested in participating in them.
Dan, do you have a question?
Yeah, sure do. Thanks. Hey, Elizabeth. So have you either ever done or know of any ways, tricks, strategies that can kind of monitor, say, the conversion rate of like social media to actual sales, rather than like tracking a promotion code or something like that? You have any strategies? Know of anything? Got you on mute again, I think.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Gotcha. Yep.
Okay, fantastic. Yeah, that's a great question. I'm not great at looking at my analytics. I mean, there's, a way that you can kind of see how many likes, how many views, but yeah, figuring out actual conversion is a bit challenging. Sometimes, like the most conversion that I've had is when I do the targeted Facebook ads, and then I can see, these 3 people signed up, as a result from, they would comment on the post and then they'd go sign up. So I could, see easily that, it was getting, a direct conversion. But, a lot of social media is just kind of building up a following and a presence. And, sometimes it takes a while for those people to become customers, but you're also building, a brand and a reputation. And sometimes things aren't really trackable. Like, so a friend will ask, oh, hey, I need this. And you'll be like, oh, I saw somebody locally who's doing that on Instagram, and here they are, So, the more people you can get in front of, the more people can, word of mouth is, the way of the South. So, the more people that know about your business, the more people can, mention it to other people. But there are a lot of powerful analytic tools that I haven't gone down that rabbit hole. I don't particularly care to. For me, like, having your own business it's a lifestyle. And so, social media is an extension of that lifestyle for me, and so I'm trying to make it less work, but just sharing about my life and my interests. So I think, maybe it's just important to be passionate about what you're doing and be excited about, what you're sharing. And I try not to get too hung up in, how many people saw this post or this and that, because there's a lot of things out of your control as far as, like the, how Instagram and Facebook directs your thing. So, I really try not to, I put it out there and hope it goes to where it needs to go. And I try not to worry too much about that. And, but yeah, I'm sure there's tons of tools, if you really want to dial that in, but I'm not your girl for that.
Maybe I can add to the conversation.
Oh, great. Please.
Rice, what kind of business do you have?
Oh, it's a fly fishing guide service.
Okay. So I believe your question was, how do you measure social media likes and social media shares and things like that?
If you can track that to actual conversion of sales, yeah.
That's going to be difficult, but I'm in the process of right now I'm in the process of working with Berry Home Centers, and we are looking at website traffic and trying to assign each landing page view a value so that we can understand how the website traffic correlates with sales. So yes, you can. It's going to take some digging and doing some campaigns that's going to give you the data that you need. So we recently did 3 postcards in 3 different geographic markets. And the way that we're tracking the success of the conversions of these postcards is each postcard has a QR code, and each postcard has a unique phone number that I get an alert if this number is called and this phone number is recorded. So you can say, okay, yes, that was a lead, that was a lead, that was a lead, or that was spam. So because you have it recorded, you can do things like that. Now, Barry's has a bigger budget than most small businesses. However, there are, just a simple QR code on your rack card is going to help you. You're probably not going to get the data that you're going to need on social media impression conversions until a couple of years into it. I mean, yeah, there are formulas that you can follow, but it's all about testing and measuring and defining success for your business. So
yeah, that's super
is
cool
that
stuff.
a little convoluted?
No, it's cool to hear that there's some different tactics to apply, and maybe patience is sort of the name of the game. But like Elizabeth was saying, a lot of it too is just doing it for the love of doing it in a lot of ways, and growing that word of mouth, I think, is super important. Yeah,
She's
thanks.
right about that completely. And yeah, get that rack card to Tanya.
I think too, for me, another thing that a lot of people don't realize is that there's customer relationship management systems that are free to use, like HubSpot and all those things. And the easiest thing to do, say if somebody calls and wants to do a fishing expedition, you put their name, their number, and then the easiest thing to do is say, hey, how did you hear about us? Because sometimes your Facebook posts, they may not show as impressions or likes, but there's going to be a lot of people see those that may still call you, that they're just not active on social. So, for us, we just try to take a little more hands-on approach with some of that stuff without paying out a lot of money for technology, which the QR code, Christine, was awesome. I need to do that on my mailers because I probably need to come see you. Just asking. And then if you have that free CRM, it allows you to compile some data as far as emails and things like that, which you could send out to your return, try to build up repeat business to allow them to have a, hey, you've been here once, here's a little discount on the next trip. You know what I mean? Just simple stuff like that.
And Elizabeth, doesn't Wix, so you email your customers through Wix, and do they have a CRM with them, like a database of how many times you've contacted them and what they purchased? And
yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then anyone that signs up for a class, automatically gets entered into the email list. And then I use Square as my POS, point of sale. So it integrates with Wix. So it does the credit card processing through that. And Square itself has, its own, email system. But I stick with the one with Wix, and it works pretty well for me.
I'm curious about Square. Everybody talks about using Square, but it's been my experience that they take a large commission. And of course, your banks have some upfront fees that don't, does Square have fees plus commission or just commission?
Yeah, both. It is, unfortunately, it is kind of expensive. They take, 3% plus, I think, whatever it is, 15% or 15 cents per transaction, something like that. So there are, different point of sales. I found they're all kind of in a similar ballpark, and I like Square just for it because I've just used it a lot. So I'm just, for me, familiarity is nice because I don't have to relearn a new system. Again, I'm sure there's better things out there, but that's just what I was kind of trained on and feel comfortable with at this point.
Do you take Venmo or PayPal?
Yeah, so Venmo has gotten pretty popular recently, and so I do take Venmo, and so people appreciate that, especially I'll sell little things, or even like the photographers are like, hey, I was there for an hour. Can I just Venmo you the money? It's just an easy way for people, to send money fast. So I do have that, and it's been helpful.
I
Are
had
the
a bad
fees
experience
less
with PayPal.
Are the fees a little bit less for Venmo, Elizabeth?
Yeah, they are less, definitely less than Square for sure. But it's more of a cash thing. So it's like bank to bank. You're not using credit cards, so you don't have to use that 3%. You don't get that 3% because it's directly connected to people's banks.
And do all those others work well with your, let's say you use QuickBooks and so forth, do they integrate well? Because that to me, as a business owner, that would be key.
Yeah. So I used QuickBooks for my first 2 businesses. And then that was one of the first things that I decided was worth hiring out for. So I use a great bookkeeping and accounting company. It's called Accounting Solutions in Bristol. Denise Arentz is the owner there, and she's fantastic. So basically, I give them my sign-ins to Square. They get my sign-ins to my bank account, my credit cards, and they integrate it all. It all goes into, I'm not sure the software they use, but their accounting software. And so then they'll, compile, do monthly profit and loss, and then they do I have an LLC, so they do the tax returns, and they charge me a monthly fee, but for me, like the hours that it saves, it's definitely worth it. I think it's like, I'm trying to guess, maybe like $185 per month, but they do all my bookkeeping, all my tax returns, and they still do the winery as well, and they manage all our payroll. They do all our payroll taxes. Like I can't recommend them highly enough. So for me, that is like very valuable, because doing my taxes and bookkeeping on my own was really stressful for me. And it's just, I'm more of like a creative person. And so sitting down at the computer with the numbers and was something I dreaded. And so, I mean, one piece of advice that I've gotten, through the years, is when you're a small business, that you try to do things that only you can do. In other words, like, as you grow, try to hire out the things that, aren't your specialty and aren't your passion. Because owning your own business is really hard. And, and there's just, like I said, you're wearing 50 hats and doing, 100 things at once. So the more that you can take off your plate, and especially, I just have so much peace of mind knowing that my taxes are being done well. And so for me, that's a good investment.
I agree with you. There's most entrepreneurs work 12 or 14 hours a day instead of 8, but there are things that are worth paying for.
I agree.
Because if you try to do it all, you don't have any off time, and then you don't have any, you don't give yourself a break. So you do have to find things that aren't your forte and hire somebody else to do them. And there are a lot of good bookkeeping services around town. We have a girl in the incubator who, she does QuickBooks, but she's great at it. So yeah, I agree with you.
Maybe you could share. I'll share the accounting solutions, but if you have a contact for the lady in the incubator, I think that would be great to share at some point.
I don't have.
We have Spiegler and Blevins, which is one of our sponsors. So somebody's going to get a year's worth of bookkeeping for free. The winner of this competition. So keep that kind of in mind too.
And they have a bookkeeping department also. Yeah. QuickBooks has gotten quite expensive. Our last We have 2 employees on the payroll. It's $100 a month for them to do all the taxes. And then the software is like $695 a year or something. So, it's about equivalent to what you're saying. And at least if somebody else is doing it, they're not making any mistakes. Because if you enter all that stuff yourself, you set yourself up for failure if you're not good at it. Okay, any more questions or comments before we go on to Chad? Christine, do you have anything to ask? Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry. I've been like demoing with a bunch of different companies that help with like books and payroll and stuff. And I found that Patriot is a really good one. And there's another company called Wave, and they're both really, they offer like bookkeeping, payroll. The Patriot one was actually very reasonable. So, they're online, so that's a little bit different than going in somebody's office. I always like personalized, services, but just something to check out if you only have like a couple people and you just need, a little bit of advice kind of thing. They were both good.
Thank you.
I've used Wave for the past 5 years. I just sent a link to you folks. But if you have a complicated business, hire a bookkeeper. But if you're just, it's not that many expenses daily. Wave is a tremendous software, and it's free.
Very good. So before we move on to Chad, does anybody have any other questions or comments? Mary does.
I was just going to say that I've owned a small business for 40 years now, and I actually just sold off a portion of the assets of the business to move here. And one of the things that I've found is that there's a very distinct difference between a bookkeeper, which you have to have for tax reasons, accounting reasons, and all that, and a financial planning bookkeeper, or someone that can help you understand how to make more money. And that difference is invaluable. And if you find them, hang on to them, because a lot of the bookkeeping that, when I hire my taxes at the end of the year, they regurgitate numbers for the purposes of the tax return. But I have yet to sit down with them and have them say, now you could save yourself some money if you structured things this way, or if you looked at it from this perspective, or here's where your costs are too high and you should, work to bring those in. I don't get that information. I end up having to study that out myself. And that's after 40 years of business. So my suggestion is to find you someone that, the ordinary day-to-day bookkeeping. I was a credit manager in my past life. I can do that all day long. I can read a financial statement, and you have to be able to do that yourself. Don't trust that to someone else. Learn how to read your financial statement. Know your numbers, or you're going to be in trouble before long. But the bottom line is to find someone that can help you fill in your deficits where you don't understand how to do something and how to improve on that. And boy, that's critical. It's how I ended up with businesses in Puerto Rico and Texas and all over, is just trying to figure out, how do I structure things to mitigate taxes, maximize profit, render to Caesar what's Caesar's, but keep what belongs to me and to my family. And that's a challenge that it's something that it's an all consuming thing. If you're not careful, you've got to keep looking at that. And boy, as a partner that comes alongside that would understand your business, or take the time to analyze your numbers and say to you, here's where your strength is, focus more on that next year. You'll improve your bottom line, and makes a huge difference. Yeah. Input from an old lady. Put my hand down.
Great input. Okay, anybody else? Okay, well, with that, Elizabeth, we thank you very much for giving your wisdom. You always have such great ideas, and it's always different information every time you help us out. So thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me. I'm going to stick around to hear what Chad and Christine have to say. I can
Please
learn
do.
some new things.
Please do.
Thank
Okay,
you.
so our next person is Chad Thompson with the Town of Abingdon. I've gotten to know Chad since he went to work for Tanya, and he's a man of many talents. So without further ado, we'll see what Chad has to teach us.
I think you buttered me up a little bit too much. I think I'm going to start floating around. My head's going to get too big. Marketing is something that's a lot of fun for me. I guess, can everybody see the screen okay? Perfect. So when I think about marketing, especially as a small business, we like to think about a lot of free ways to do marketing. In reality, none of it's free because we do have to invest some of our time. But the resources that I want to show are things that require kind of minimum effort to upkeep. It's kind of like one of those old info commercials. You can almost set it and forget it. So what I want to talk about today is online listings, things like Virginia Tourism, Google, TripAdvisor, the Town of Abingdon's events calendar, and a couple other things on there like Facebook. So the first one we're going to start with, I'm actually clicking on the wrong screen, is TripAdvisor. So this is a really neat resource. I'm sure a lot of you have heard of it. Maybe you're very familiar with it, but this is a great thing that we see a lot of the tourists and visitors coming to Abingdon, even people locally looking for things to do, will use this service to kind of figure out what to do, plan their trips, because this is a vetted service. So typically the things on here are going to be rated by user experiences. These are real reviews, and people can trust this service. So if we click on over here, you can see that one of the reasons why you might want to have a TripAdvisor, or why you definitely want to have one, is because it does increase visibility and brand recognition for you. So TripAdvisor is one of the largest travel websites in the world, and being listed on the site can significantly increase your business's visibility and recognition. So even if it's one of those things, you're not actively coming to TripAdvisor and updating things frequently, you'll at least be there. So the way I see it is, if your business is on here and your competitor is not, this is giving you a little bit of leverage in that aspect. But you never know what resource your visitors are going to use to find you. Some people use Google, some people use social media, some people use word of mouth, and some people still get visitor guides and print ads. Me, myself, when my wife and I were looking for somewhere to travel, we go straight to Google, which I'll talk about in a minute. But that's how we determine things that we want to do and see there. So another benefit to TripAdvisor is also your increased customer engagement. So this is going to give your customers a chance to leave you reviews, and ultimately they hopefully are going to be really good, like 4 and 5 star reviews, and it gives you a chance to engage back with them. So if they leave you a positive review on their experience with your business, then you can comment back to that. And then other people that are coming to check out your business, they're going to be able to see that communication. And, even if a customer has a bad experience and you are able to comment back in a professional manner, and then other people see that, they'll at least see that you, the business owner, are willing to communicate with their customers, to take, what's the word I'm looking for? Advice or criticism, and handle those things. And those are all very positive things that help your business get noticed. And the last piece here is targeted advertising opportunities. So with TripAdvisor, they offer targeting advertising options that allow you to target specific demographics and reach potential customers in your area. So there's a lot of different options in that. And you can see in the picture here, I just typed in Abingdon, Virginia, and did a search term of lodging. And this is what came up. So there's nothing here that a business or somebody on the back end can do necessarily to get themselves to go to the front. It's not like you pay money to be at the top. This is all based on engagement from visitors coming here, the ratings they get, and things like that. That's why this is a reputable and vetted business that you need to have listed on. So the next one that works very similar, of course, is Google My Business. And this is very valuable. So the moment you set up your business, you need to go to Google. I believe it's like mybusiness.google.com, and you actually claim your business. So the reason you want to do this, Google is the #1 search engine in the entire world. The #2 search engine in the entire world is YouTube, which is also owned by Google. So you definitely want to make sure that you're listed on there and that you're showing up. So if somebody, for example, I believe Dan said that he was like a fly fishing, like a guided fly fishing business. So if somebody goes to Google and searches for fly fishing, Abingdon, Virginia, and you don't have yourself listed or showing up on Google, and they don't find you, chances are they're just going to go to the next business down. So knowing that Google is an important search engine like it is, and you claim that, you can control a lot of these different features. So for example, you can set up a profile and you can have your address, hours of operation, you can have a phone number, and so many other things on here. And you can take information that's coming to you from this Google business listing and work on things. So you can see ratings. I use the Abingdon Visitor Center as an example. You can see our rating is not exactly where we want it to be, but we actually got rated negatively for things that weren't even anything to do with us. I think some people got mistaken when they were leaving the reviews, but that's an area where you can go in and leave those comments. And that's what I was talking about with the TripAdvisor. If somebody leaves something negative and you as the business owner go back in and comment, when people do go and see those things, they'll see that communication, realize that maybe there was an error or you were trying to fix something. But you can also set up here where people can call your business directly from Google. So what you're doing is setting up these different features, like say you're a lodging option, you can have bookings straight through your Google My Business as well. You're creating something that's very streamlined and makes a user-friendly experience for guests and visitors. And, you know, because things are so competitive now, having any advantage like this you can that is also free is very crucial and detrimental to business success. Like I mentioned earlier, Google's the number one source that I go to when I'm looking up new places. If I'm in a place that I've never visited before, I immediately just go to Google search, what do I do here? Where do I eat? And typically I go off reviews and other things like that that people have left. So that's another very easy to use, valuable resource. Here's a little bit more insight about it, very similar to what we saw on TripAdvisor. It increases your search visibility. Google is credible and trustworthy. People know the name. We've been saying the term Google for a long time. And then you also have along with the communication and things, you're also able to get monthly and I think you can even get weekly reports sent to your email address that tell you how many people have been searching for your business. It talks about, I think Dan mentioned conversion rates from social media. It'll tell you how many people have called your business based on your Google My Business listing. It'll tell you how many people went to your website or other links you have in there, how many times that they viewed your photos. So there's a lot of impressions you can get there and a lot of data for free being offered by Google to learn more about your audience and kind of what areas are working and what areas you can improve on. So the next one of the great things about Virginia is we have an amazing statewide tourism initiative. So Virginia.org is kind of an area that you can utilize as a small business in Virginia by listing your business and information. So it kind of is very similar to Google. It's very similar to TripAdvisor in the fact that it's free for one, but you can have things like photos, you can have contact information, your address, and just whatever else that you want to present to your potential visitors. So Virginia Tourism does a great job at putting lots of money behind marketing, and they're constantly trying to drive people to their website. So if you're on there and people are looking in a certain region, it's just going to be ultimately a huge benefit to yourself to be listed on there. So again, it's increased exposure to a targeted audience. So one thing that Virginia Tourism understands very well is kind of nesting and organizing things based on not only regions, but also interest groups. So for example, if you have an outdoor recreation business, Virginia Tourism is going to make sure that by you creating your listing, that you're going to show up with outdoor recreation categories and interest groups. So the same would be for a restaurant or lodging or what have you. And then also credibility. Virginia.org and Virginia Tourism is a brand that people have heard of and known for many years now. The Virginia's for Lovers slogan is, in my opinion, and across the board, one of the best well-known travel tourism marketing agencies, I would say, in the continental United States. And then also you have that competitive advantage. There are lots of businesses here in Virginia that are going to be listed on virginia.org, but unlike things like Google or TripAdvisor, you don't necessarily compete with the other businesses, because Google is going to rank you and TripAdvisor based on positive reviews and how many engagements you get. But Virginia.org is going to be a little bit more fair across the board. So if you're brand new and you don't have that engagement, you don't have those reviews yet, you're not necessarily going to be competing against the heavy hitters that have a long history. You're going to show up equally amongst everybody else. So I think that's one of the reasons that Virginia.org is so great to utilize. And then kind of more on the local scale, if you are going to be utilizing Facebook, or if you're going to be having events where you might sell tickets, so maybe you're going to use something like Eventbrite, another area that you can get your stuff to show up on is the Abingdon events calendar. So this is something new that Tanya and I worked on last year and implemented on the Visit Abingdon. I must have an intruder. I can hear my dog going off. But so the way this event calendar works, it pulls feeds from Facebook. It pulls from Eventbrite. Let me make sure she's going to quit barking so we don't miss anything. But also, you can manually go in here and create your own event listings as well. If, for example, for whatever reason you decide not to use Facebook, you can create manual events. So this is a great place to put content as well, because we at the Town of Abingdon are constantly trying to drive traffic to our website so people can find out more about what's going on in town. And aside from the calendar, we actually have our own directory here, very similar to virginia.org, where we can list you in categories based on if you're outdoor recreation, if you're shopping and dining or lodging or what have you. So just know that there's a ton of free resources, and even more than what I've mentioned here today, that you can utilize to get your business seen and noticed when people are searching online. And they're all very simple to use. You essentially just set up a free account for really any one of these here, and we'll be sure to get those links out to you. And then it's just a matter of posting a few photos and just writing up a little bit about your business. The good thing about, you can see here on Google as well as TripAdvisor, you're pretty much putting the same information on every single listing. So it's fairly copy and paste and cookie cutter here. So it's essentially one of those things. You might spend 30 minutes to an hour going to each of these websites, setting everything up. And then from that point, you're basically done. The TripAdvisor and Google, for example, they'll alert you when somebody leaves you a new comment or some type of a review. So if you want to go engage with that, you just click the link in your email. It sends you straight to the comment. You can write something back to them. You can offer advice, answer their question, or whatever that might be. But that's something I would definitely recommend doing, because it doesn't require a ton of time, but it really shows a lot of care from the business owner to potential visitors. So I guess, let's go on down the list here. That's essentially all that I have in terms of all the different listings. The only other thing I would say is if you do go the route of Facebook, and the reason I'm saying if is, and I'll get onto that in just a second, is with Facebook, if you are going to create events and things to do, it's important to use the events feature of Facebook, because it helps you show up in multiple locations. So for example, there's a lot of businesses I've worked with in the past where they don't actually create an event. They'll just make a post. And the problem with that is a post doesn't necessarily get seen by this group and this group, but an event gets pushed out to multiple feeds to be seen by more people. And ultimately, that's what leads to our event calendar that you see here on the screen. So that's just another free resource you can use. And events could be something like a class. It could be a ticketed event. It could be a free event, or it could even be just a big announcement you have. For example, YouTube is a huge platform that I love to use. It's probably my personal favorite. YouTube has something called premieres. So you might create a Facebook event to premiere a new video. Maybe it's to premiere a new product or service. An event doesn't necessarily mean that you're having people come to your location or gathering in some sort of way. It could literally be just to promote something. So those are a bunch of free resources that I recommend. And what I was getting at about social media is, if you are going to market your business, you're going to have some type of social media platform. And like I said, for me in my personal life, YouTube is 100% the best platform for me, but it might not be the best for somebody else. So when you are diving into social media, it's important to pay attention to what your market is into. So for example, if you have a younger market, Instagram is probably going to be where you're going to crush it the most. But if you don't love Instagram and you're not willing to use it and be a part of it, it can be pretty detrimental. One problem that I've ran into in the past at previous jobs and in my personal life is I used to hear from the social media gurus that go sign up for every social media account you have. And before I knew it, I had like 8 different social media platforms I was trying to manage, and it was impossible. So what was happening was the platforms that I was using that were very strong started to suffer because I was trying to spread myself too thin. So what I do now is kind of narrow myself down to about 3. So with the Town of Abingdon, for example, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube are our 3 biggest platforms. So that's where I put my most time and attention. And those are also the 3 that I enjoy using the most. So that's just something else you could think about. You know, I mentioned TripAdvisor, Google Business, and all this, and they're all fantastic resources, but just make sure you don't overwhelm yourself, especially in the start, signing up for any and everything just because you think you have to. And then you start letting things kind of dwindle down, or you forget to utilize it because if you're not engaging with it, they don't reward you. They reward you for engagement because at the end of the day, the goal for all these websites is to get visitors to them and to stay on those sites. And the longer you can keep people on these platforms, the more the platforms are going to work to your advantage. So, and I guess in a nutshell, that's pretty much what I've got.
Okay.
Anybody have any questions for Chad?
Yeah, Chad, what do you think, based off that, that whole deal as far as the each social media site really wants you to stay there, right? Mm-hmm. So how do you suggest using thumbnails versus links, or how do you think the best way, because they know if they click, like if I put something with a post that's got my website link or something like that on there, they're knowing that, and they know that I'm driving traffic away from that. So how do you get away from that?
Well, it kind of varies. So Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, essentially, they want you to keep people on their platforms as long as possible, and Facebook too. But one way you can combat it is by keeping people to coming back to your profile. So, for example, like Elizabeth said, if you're posting to Instagram like once a day, especially when you post on your stories, typically people get notifications. So-and-so just posted their story, go check it out. So essentially when you do that and people click on it to go to your page, the social media platform will see that as you're pulling traffic back into them. Same way with YouTube. If I put out a new YouTube video, it's going to alert subscribers and people going to the feed that a new videos went out. So the ultimate goal there is to get them to watch that video and hopefully keep watching more videos and staying on the platform. It's okay to draw people away from a platform to say to go to your website, because I mean, at the end of the day, that's your ultimate goal. One of the reasons I suggest this too, and why I think that having a website is the single most important marketing tool you can have, is because let's say, for example, you start building up a huge audience on a platform like Vine. If anybody doesn't know what Vine is now, that's because it just one day it was like, okay, we're done. And then, everybody's social media following is gone. Right now, there's a lot of talk with TikTok. Do I think TikTok's worth doing? If your audience is on there right now, yeah, sure. But there's a lot of controversy around it, and it may not be here much longer in the States or at all. Who knows? So it's one of those things. If you have a website, that's something nobody can ever take away from you. It's kind of like when I was growing up, my grandfather always told me, always go out and get an education, because that's the one thing somebody can't take away from you. Well, I add to that now, go out and get a website, because that's something else somebody can't take away from you. But There's another thing called backlinks, and it's kind of helps with SEO, gets a little bit deeper into other areas. But if you have a website that sends people to your social media and a social media that sends people to your website, Google likes those things because then it kind of builds more of a positive reputation. So there's different things you could do to keep people in the system, whether it's like another thing Elizabeth mentioned, Reels. You can send those Reels to Facebook too. So that's something else that'll help keep them on the platform. Although they might click to your website, there's a chance they're always going to come back and check for new posts and updates.
Awesome.
Any
Thank
other
you.
comments or questions?
Christina, I see you're unmuted. Did you have some input?
I'm just waiting on my turn. Sorry. Yeah, I have some things to say to add to this conversation, but I'll let you know. I'll let you let me know when that's good.
If we don't have any, do we have other questions?
Yeah,
Mary.
Mary's got her hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mary.
So you're muted, Mary.
You're muted.
Mary, you're muted.
No, I was unmuted.
No, you're muted.
You just hit it back again. There you go.
Okay. I was just going to comment that every industry also has some pages that you might be able to get involved in. Like, for instance, I was an interior designer for the last 40 years. Well, House did a lot of promotions and a lot of our pictures got posted on House, and we ended up getting a whole lot of leads out of that. And so every industry, look for your industry and see what they might have, because that we could post for free there or we could advertise.
Mm-hmm.
And it worked well for us.
So just to kind of piggyback on what you're saying, a good starting point for anything you do, forms are going to be best for you, and then you really need to set a goal. Is my goal there's lots of goals for marketing. You need to flesh out your online presence, and you do that like Chad mentioned, Google My Business. You do that like Elizabeth kicks butt at Instagram and Facebook. You do that by Yelp. There's so many platforms that can help you manage your online presence and reputation. And then there's also the promotional aspect. What is the goal? Say you want to sell 50 tickets to an event that you have. A good place to start is take about 5 to 7% of the sales that you want and put that aside and decide what can you get for that money. So maybe it is just a Facebook ad, and you can measure, how well the Facebook ad does, or maybe it's the skies. This is such a hard topic because the sky is absolutely the limit when it comes to any of this. But I want to go back to what Elizabeth said, and she said it's worth investing in a graphic designer. Your very first impression of your business is your logo. Make sure it reflects what you do. Make sure that it's clear, that people don't have, make sure it's clear to the public what you are and what you're selling. Because if it's not, you're going to have some problems. Also, your signage for your business. You may have to start out small, but command attention when somebody goes past your business. The Abingdon Visitor Center has a great sign. Elizabeth has a great sign. Invest in that. Those are your upfront costs. You're not going to see a real return on those investments, but those are investments. It comes to when you come to your promotions, that's when you should, measure. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. my point is, any marketing dollars that you spend should be an investment. And if you're not getting a return on that investment, seek to understand why. Okay, so if you put a little business card ad in a magazine and it's in the back of the magazine and you do it for 1 month, it's probably not going to drive that many sales unless it's highly targeted. You know, it's a niche publication. That's not how marketing works. Marketing works when you layer it up on in multiple platforms and mediums, and that's how to build a comprehensive marketing plan. So once you get your business plan together, you know, set aside 5 to 7% of that at least for marketing, and then divide that out by month and see what you can do. So I represent a couple of restaurants, and in the summertime, we throw all the extra money that we're making into marketing. So it will float us through the off seasons, because during the summertime, we can afford the marketing. It gets those reviews where it needs to be. People have good experiences because, you know, there's a whole vibe going on, and that floats us through the rest of the month. So I'm not saying divide your marketing budget out equally among months. You know, try to define where your seasons are and see what you can get for what amount of money. That's where a marketing consultant can come in and say, okay, you have X number of dollars. Look at spending it this way. Where a salesman, if you're waiting for a salesman to walk in your door, they're going to try to sell you on what they have. And you really need to look at it from a wider point of view. The reason I started my business was I was in ad sales for a while. I walked in a business and the guy said, I've already wasted my advertising budget this year. Come back next year. And that statement knocked me to the floor. How are you wasting your advertising budget? If you're waiting for a salesman to come to your door and you listen to their pitch, I mean, that's what they do for a living. They sell, and you may get the results you want, you may not, but don't think of it as wasting your marketing budget. I got a list from Sandy from all of you. I just want to say hi. I know Kitsy, hello. You've got a great store in downtown. Scott, it was a pleasure to meet you today. Looking forward to your RV campground. Daisy, you always do fun work. Joshua, we've met before. Was it last year?
It's really hard telling, Christine. I think it may have been last year, but I'm kind of everywhere and then nowhere all at once.
I think it's from last year.
Well, no, I wasn't in this last year, but you may have met me through other mutual connections. I don't know. Most people in Abingdon know me as because I help a lot with Dreamland Alpacas. So if you know,
okay, I know David.
Well, that's my wife's family. So we're kind of ingrained in that deal. And sometimes it's easier to be associated with the alpaca farm than it is the insurance guy. So
the insurance, I met you at a networking thing. That's what it was.
Yeah, right. That's it.
And Dan, you have a fly fishing company. Are you just now getting started, or you've been doing this for a little while?
Brand new here, Christine. So just launching.
Yeah, very good. It's a great region. Like Tanya and Chad said, Abingdon is your base camp for outdoor adventure, and people are just loving our outdoor adventure. Go check out Marion Outdoors.
Yeah.
I've got my water bottle. They're doing some good stuff. Let's see. Hunter, what do you do?
I'm starting a business called 202 Depot Bike and Shuttle. So we will be renting bicycles and e-bikes and do a shuttle service for the Salt Trail in Glade Spring.
Okay. Very cool. Very cool. Let's see, Scott.
Socia.
Sorry, my bad. Scott.
So I currently have a handyman business.
Okay. Very good.
He's
Check out
quite
Barry.
a good handyman.
Check out Barry Home Centers. They're competitive.
I know Barry's. Don't worry.
They have a full service lumber yard in 2 locations.
I'm well aware.
Okay.
So while we're talking about marketing, you know, I had a service business for 30 years, and the thing that we haven't talked about, even though the customer is not always right, if you're going to say no, you have to do it nicely. And that's very hard with some customers. I did learn in my business that there were customers that you just didn't want, that you know, that you said no to just to prevent bad publicity, because publicity is a marketing tool. And so be really cognizant of your interaction with your customers and the people around them, because I think Elizabeth said, I don't remember exactly how she said it, but word of mouth is the biggest form of advertising in I'm going to say Washington County, but probably all Southwest Virginia.
I think she said word of mouth is the way of the South. I love that.
Well, she's absolutely right. And you know, there were times that I had customers that I knew better, but I needed the business, and so I tried. And those were the very ones that I would have to explain myself time and time and time again to kind of redeem my reputation, because your reputation is going to be, especially in the businesses that all of you all are talking about, your reputation is going to be exactly what defines you. And, you know, we're not like New York, where they don't care. They've got such a population that they don't care if you like what they're selling or not. They don't have to deal with you. You know, they've got the population. We do not have the population, and so they have your money in their pocket, and it's your job to figure out how to get it and then be happy that you took it. So be really careful with customer service. And, you know, like I said, even the customers, if your intuition tells you that this customer is going to be difficult, you might want to rethink even dealing with them. I don't know how the rest of you feel, but I know that I had that experience. You know, I finally learned not to do that. It took me a while.
There are definitely clients where I've declined, and you have to do that. But just to take this one step further, if you get a bad review on Google or any reviews, try to take that offline as soon as possible. Apologize, take it offline. You do not want to get in an argument with a customer on you know, anywhere on the internet.
That's correct. If they say something ugly on Facebook, you have control of your Facebook page. You don't have to let somebody say something. But now they might say it on their own, but you can even hide their comments so that they can't see that you've hidden it, but only their personal friends will see it. You know, I just take it down. I'm not arguing on Facebook, but I have taken stuff down before. Mary, do you have your hand up, or?
Oh, I was
We
just
have a
going to agree with you that Joe Girard is the world's greatest salesman, was in the Guinness Book of Records as the world's greatest salesman. And his theory is that every person knows 250 people that they can either refer you to or tell never to do business with you. And he's absolutely right. In my last business, I had 3 or 4 customers that were responsible for keeping me in business for 40 years because they were the mouthpiece of the community. They were the salespeople, the movers and shakers, who everybody that came to town, their first words were, well, have you met Mary? You got to go see Mary. You bought a new house. You got to go see her. Tanya, she's one of those people in this community. She knows everybody and everybody respects her word. And everybody that I've met, and I've only been in town a couple of months, said, have you seen Tanya yet? That's the people that you need to have and satisfy them. And when you do that, the word of mouth builds so rapidly that you won't have any trouble staying in business.
That's correct. And
Two
the
cents
other
worth.
thing about customer service is this. If you say to somebody, I need for you to do this because they don't care what you need. They've come to you because they want their need fulfilled. So be really cognizant, especially in the service industry, of your interaction with folks and how you word things with folks. You know, they are going to be your greatest form of advertising.
I always say you can tell people no, but just try to find another option for them before you tell them no. Give them another choice, or find some other way. You know, I'm sorry, we can't do that. You know, I can't place a full page ad in a magazine just to promote your business. But here's what I can do for you. So give them, just give them some other options of things that might be available if you can't do what they're asking.
That's all right. I can't do, and it's kind of like raising teenagers. Here's the choices we have to offer. You want this choice or this choice? You know, give them 2 choices.
I put in the chat, Chad talked a little bit about Virginia.org. And that's where you can list all of your information and add photos about your business. The Blue Ridge Highlands region is our region. So when you're looking to add things in on Virginia.org, at the bottom of the page, after you get approved, so you'll have to create a login, and then you'll have to wait a couple of days, and they'll give approval, and then you can go in and add your information. Be sure to click Washington County. So that makes you show up in the Blue Ridge Highlands section of Virginia.org. VATC that I put in the chat is kind of the back operations for Virginia's for Lovers. And on that site, you'll be able to find out information about grant opportunities. They post all of their research and data there. Scott, I think you were interested in some things. It's not broken down in the town of Abingdon. It's actually done by counties. So we're included in Washington County, but it'll tell you a little bit about visitors and visitor spending in the area. And it's broken down over several years. So look at that. You guys may not have been in business long enough just yet, but right now there are 3 grant opportunities through Virginia Tourism. One of them is a marketing leverage grant that you have to put some money into too. There's a DMO grant, which is what we are, a destination marketing organization. And we're going to be able to apply for some new photography work and new video work. So we want to hire some professional folks to come in and help us with some new inventory. So when we get Southern Living and a lot of these magazines calling us, that we can offer them some really nice photos. Right now, they have a special events grant that is open. So for anyone who does special events or who's been doing special events for 2 years can apply for that grant. If your participants are under $20,000, you're eligible for 10. $5,000 can be for promoting your event or production of your event. So you could pay musicians, you could pay entertainers. with 5,000 of that 10, and then 5,000 has to go toward marketing. If the participants to your event is 20,000 or more, then that number goes to 20,000. And again, it's a $10,000 for production and $10,000 for marketing. So for anybody that might have some events going on, that these are always really good places to find that. So vatc.org. And again, it's all the research and all the grant opportunities.
Okay, it's the time of night where speak now or forever hold your peace. We are at the 8 o'clock hour, and I think we've had some very good information from Christine, Elizabeth, and Chad. And we always appreciate everything they do for us to help us help you. The next week is Valentine's Day.
Next week you concentrate on your Valentine, so you get to
right.
there's no excuse. Next week we're giving you the next week off, and then the following week on the 21st we'll be back, and we're going to talk about where's the money, and we'll have a panel of financial experts from different lending and bank institutions. But I do want to mention, since we've been talking about marketing tonight, next Wednesday is our new knowledge, and that will focus on Canva 101. And if you are creating flyers, everything, even QR codes, I realized you can start creating QR codes on that. Canva is where you want to go. I use it all the time, but that'll be at 12 for our new knowledge session. So if you want the link to register, let me know, but you can find it, I know, on the Virginia Highlands Small Business Incubators website and others, but I'll be happy to share. But that's something I wanted to point out to you.
Sandy, can I share one more thing that I just thought of?
No.
Please.
Okay.
So William King Museum of Art has an art lab, and they certify folks in Adobe. So if any of you are interested in being able to maybe design some of your own things or to learn Adobe, you can go to William King Museum of Art and sign up for some of their workshops. They have humongous printers in there and 3D printers and all kinds of things. So if you hadn't been up there to check that out, that might be a good option if that's something you're passionate about and don't want to hire that out.
And if you can't make it up there on April the 19th, which is my mother's birthday, she'll turn 92. We are having Adobe Creative Cloud Express with Seth Ritchie with the Hampton Inn here in Abingdon leading that session. So, if you're not taking advantage of these new knowledge program, you're missing out. And we've got lots of content online. Just go to YouTube, search new knowledge. There's probably getting close to 200 workshops. But there's no reason why you can't figure out how to do some of this stuff, but we've got a great lineup coming up. So take advantage of this. It's free, and we do it to help you all. So.
Well, thank you for inviting me. I'm pleased to be here in such good company with Chad and Elizabeth. I don't think I met every one of you, but I hope to meet you really soon. Just want to thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Okay.
Well, thank you all. You got pitch night, February the 28th. Don't forget, they'll start practicing. 8 minutes goes fast.
And don't wait until the last day to do your business plan. Elizabeth will tell you you've got to work on that. Thanks, everybody. We're here if you need us. Take care. Bye-bye.